I'd like to call the regular board meeting of the Huron Valley Schools to order for March 4th, 2024. May I have a roll call, Secretary Pastana?
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Here.
Mr. Dimick.
Here.
Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Ms. Dodd.
Here.
Ms. Cotter is absent tonight. I am present. Mr. Wiseman.
Here.
Present and accounted for.
Everyone stand who's able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have approval of agenda. I would like to make one amendment to the agenda tonight under Communications and Report. I would like to take items from the board president and move that from A, move recognition up to A with student presentations B, and items from the board president C. So I'd like to make just a friendly amendment to the approval of agenda. Is there any other questions or any other changes? Seeing none with that change, could I have a roll call, please?
Wait, would you like a motion first?
Could I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the agenda as adjusted and presented.
Could I have a second? All right, motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Ryan. Now, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay. Prior to us going to recognitions, one statement, citizens participation forms. The citizen participation forms are by the door. I'd like to thank all of you for attending our board meeting tonight. We welcome our HVS community's input and comments. A public comment section will be available for 15 minutes, which includes both action and non-action items during Section 3 of the agenda. Additional comments will take place during Section 7 of the agenda unless the comments are related to an item that will be voted on. At that point in time, you will be provided 3 minutes to provide your comments. This is not a time for us to have a conversation, but when appropriate, I will turn it over to Dr. Salah, who will address those comments at the next meeting and during the course of the time between our meetings. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to recognitions, Dr. Salah.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will ask Ms. Rothler to introduce these two recognitions this evening.
Good evening. Huron Valley Schools prides itself on focusing on arts, athletics, and academics to help inspire and lead students to a successful future. Tonight, we would like to acknowledge a teacher whose dedication to the teaching of fine arts has profoundly influenced the lives of numerous students. Mrs. Kristen Blanchard of Muir Middle School has recently been awarded Teacher of the Year by the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association. And earlier today, she was showcased on CBS Detroit. Let's take a look at her story.
A local teacher in Oakland County is receiving recognition for the many years of dedication to her band students. Alicia Bergio takes us to Muir Middle School in Milford to introduce us to the band director behind that accolade.
For some, the love of music starts at an early age.
I always tell people it chose me, I didn't choose it.
For Kristen Blanchard, that passion struck a chord when she was simply 9 years old.
There comes a point where you realize maybe I can do this for a living. Yes!
That she did. For 28 years, most of those memories taking place at Muir Middle School in Milford, Kristen has taught kids the melody of music.
Ready, go.
How to harmonize, play an instrument, but mostly how to have fun.
Ready, go. For me, it's more about where they're going to go with this. So they may not be a musician the rest of their life. That's not important to me. What's important is that they remembered how fun it was, and maybe they go to concerts, or maybe they go spend money to see live music, or they have kids later and they want those kids to be in bands. So that's a really important thing for me. It's bigger than just music. 1, 2, mini scales, E flat, go.
After decades of dedication to her students, Kristen just recently received the ultimate praise. For the first time in her career, she was named the Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association Band Teacher of the Year, an award voted on by her fellow colleagues across the state.
Was I surprised? You bet. We were at our state conference in Grand Rapids. I didn't know they called my I did the whole pause. And my husband was there, so I looked at him and I was like, did they just say my name? So yeah, it was very surprising because I was up against 2 other really, really amazing teachers.
It's an honor Kristen says she's grateful to receive, but it's the impact she leaves on her students that is the most rewarding.
You got it. Ta-bum. We don't come to work every day to earn these awards. So it was cool. It was very awesome.
As for what's next for this band director,
Lots of energy, go. I have a lot of hopes. I have a lot of things I want to do. I want to retire in a couple of years, and I call it rewirement. I want to keep doing things. I want to spread my wings.
in the meantime, Kristen plans to continue to encourage anyone with a passion for music to simply bring the energy and keep playing.
If you're willing to put in the work and the effort, the payoff is something you can't even imagine.
In Milford,
Don't be afraid to add vibrato if you want to, and
Alicia Bergio, CBS News Detroit.
right here.
Let's give her a round of applause while we invite Ms. Blanchard up, along with Muir Principal, Mr. Digsby, and we have Vice President of the School Board, Laura Dodd, up. So if you 3 can join me up here.
I'm not a teacher, but I just used my teacher point to get both. So, I don't know. Come hang out. So you are with kids, and I grew up daughter of middle school orchestra teacher. So you start with these kids when they sound like nothing.
Yes.
They're just learning how to make the noise in the instrument, and you bring them through this journey that it takes them so many places.
Yep.
You know, whether they go on, and I've heard these high school students playing the instruments beautifully, or they just go on to be appreciators of music, and you talked about that. It opens all the doors. I know that every music teacher I've had, and I think everyone who's had a music teacher for multiple years, that's the name of the educator we remember. Not just because they introduced us to music and we had them for many years, but because of all of the things they opened up for us and the relationships we had with them. So we know that you have been inspiring and building futures one student at a time for so many years, and we're honored that MSBOA recognized that. And so on behalf of all that you've done for us, we want to give you this nice little certificate and one of these handy little coins that says inspiring building futures one student at a time. And on the flip side of this, it says, which is first? I know, let's put it way far out. Academics, athletics, and of course, arts, right at the very end. And our district really cares for all of those and cares for people like you. We're so appreciative of having you in our team. And here's this.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank
We'll get a picture with the whole board, but I wanted to open it up to the school board if they had any questions or comments for you.
Any questions, comments? Yes, Amy.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for what you do day in and day out. I know it's not always easy, but I just appreciate the fact that you are leaving a legacy, not just for today or the 3 years that you have these students, but you are planting the seed of music for their entire life. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Kristen, thank you very much. We are truly blessed. Our students are truly blessed to have you as part of our Huron Valley team for the last 28 years.
Yeah,
So thank you very much.
Yep. We can do invite the board out and we'll get a picture from everybody. You have to be part of the picture.
Here, come on up. The whole team.
so many people to recognize. We're not done yet. So we also want to recognize the recipients of this year's Huron Valley Education Foundation grants. So if Dr. Nick Peruski of White Lake Middle School and Denise Pastana could join me now to tell us more about the grants and more about those recipients.
Good evening, everyone. So Denise and I are here to acknowledge all of the HVEF grant recipients for this year. We've got a bunch of them in the audience today. The HVEF was founded in 1996, and to date, every year these numbers become more and more impressive. We've funded over 500 grants and over $600,000 worth of innovative educational experiences for our students across the district. We are a volunteer organization, so up here you can see that educators, board members, our superintendent, local business members of our community make up our board and make this all possible. This year, we've awarded 29 grants totaling just around $25,000 at the elementary, middle, and high school level, as well as at Apollo and for the Huron Valley Council for the Arts. And without further ado, let's look at all the cool things that our educators are doing across the district. So first off, at Apollo, if you're in the audience and I call your name, please come forward, and then at the end, we'll take a group picture. So we have Sonia Bohm, The Science of Reading, Lisa Antonio, Young Authors and Illustrators Books, and Amy Ebright, Cozy Cottages. At the elementary level, we have Susan Black, School-Wide Read Aloud, The Secret Zoo, Kim Zalay, SEL Library, David Riga, Boom, Here Comes the Fun, Sylvia LaPratte, Cats Play by Color. So Sylvia, come on up. Stephanie Detbarn, Orff Instruments, Nicole Foudy, Increasing the Visual, Spatial, and Fine Motor Abilities of Early Elementary Students. Sylvie LaPratte also was awarded an additional grant for Let's Glow with Art and Music. And Michelle Huff, Sensory and Classroom Dividers. I'm going to turn it over to Denise, who's going to continue on with our secondary grants.
Thanks, Nick. At the middle school level, we have Julie Puffer, Bringing the Joy Back into Reading, Trina Buell, Building Independence in Real Life, Carrie Bradley, Creating the Community, Dave Brown, Micro World, Rosalind Adams, Oak Valley Treat, Caitlin Gorney, Active Seating for Active Learners, Heather Fitzpatrick, Slight Singing Successfully with S Cubed, Adam Wagner, Let's Make a Podcast, Danielle Vivo, Screen Printing Positive Messages in Middle School. At the high school level, we have Paige Riley, Empowering Harbor Women, Scott Armstrong, Classroom Aquarium to Empower High-Risk Students in Science, Colleen Durham, A Push Podcast, Isaac Perry, Robo Buddy Phone Chargers, Kristen Leslie, Free Voluntary Reading Library, Emma Flynn, Anatomical Models, Emily Munwick, ScanMaker Air Pen Scanner, a benefit to ELA. Lori Gleason, Forging Excellence. And then from the Huron Valley Council of the Arts, Georgia Bingham. Those are our grant recipients.
If we can have you all move here, and does the board have any comments or questions before we take a picture?
Any comments or questions? I just have one. I just want the public to know that how much having a public foundation like we have here, how extraordinary it is, because these grants, first of all, the board of directors, thank you for the time that you spend on this, because this is on your own time, providing additional services to our students, because these are things that are above and beyond what we as a school district can provide. recipients, thank you for taking the time for the grants, and I know that they certainly benefit our students, and we really appreciate the fact to do that. But I just want to point out the foundation is something extraordinary to have because it really does provide opportunities for our students, and it's unique to Huron Valley, and I just want to say thank you for the work that you do. Any other comments? Seeing none, picture time. I do want to point out, I believe they mentioned it, maybe they didn't.
Right now. They were gonna say it. They
You were going to
just
say
about
it? Oh, okay. I just want to point out that there's a golf outing coming up that's going to benefit the foundation. It's our first annual, and I know that we're going to have many more after this one. So maybe Jeffrey, you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So as part of the foundation, we're going to start with the first annual golf outing this year. It's going to be at Mystic Creek. It's going to be on the 27th of June. It's $150 per person. So we're going to look for about 72 to 100 golfers. We've already got about 40 people who are committed to playing with us, and we have about half of our holes already sponsored. So we're going to continue to work with our business community as well as people through the Huron Valley community. But the goal here is to raise additional funds and then eventually have consistently 100 golfers a year that we can but then use this dollars not only to save additional money for the foundation, but also to continue providing grants for our wonderful teachers who do a lot of stuff for us in the classroom. So any questions can be sent to me. It's kind of small here, but I have copies that I can leave out at the break maybe for interested people who want to golf or sponsor or even volunteer their time. So we look forward to having people come. It's going to be a good event, and I'm looking forward to starting with our first and building upon that. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jeffrey. Next, school presentations, Highland Elementary. Dr. Salah.
Highland Hounds are in the house, as you can hear. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Campbell, proud principal of Highland Elementary School.
I am the very proud principal, and before I get started, none of what I'm going to speak about tonight would happen without the amazing staff that we have. So if you are a member of our Highland Hound team, would you please stand? And I must tell you, the people standing before you, when we talk about individuals who come to work every day and are selfless and put it all on the line for our students and our family, these are the faces of those people. So thank you for all of you do for our community, our families, our kids, and most of all for each other throughout the really important work that we are doing for our kids. So thank you. All right, and I'm just going to get started. We have so many things that we are proud of at Highland Elementary, but I'm just going to mention a few and then get into our slideshow. So we are a school-wide Title I building, something we are incredibly proud of. We also house the emotionally impaired program for the district, and our teacher who works in that program is here as well. And one thing that our team is especially proud of is all of our students are Gen Ed students first. They have a desk in their Gen Ed classroom. They have a mailbox. They are included in field trips and class parties and recesses and everything special. Those kids know that the students in our categorical program are just as much a part of that classroom as any other student, and that is a credit not only to our special education staff, but also the really hard collaborative work that our gen ed teachers are doing to make those safe places welcoming for them in their classrooms as well. We have built a beautiful, strong partnership with our parent group, the Highland Elementary PTO. We are really proud of the fact that we have continued with our mileage club, and it helps to model and set the stage for what a healthy, active lifestyle can look like for our students. We are a small school, but we are a mighty school, and our teacher collaboration is top-notch. They plan together, they work together, they support each other, and it's not just our grade level teams, it is throughout our entire school. We have teams meeting regularly across grade levels for vertical articulation, talking through iReady and supports that have worked for them, and they're helping to coach and guide each other, and they do that all on their own. We still have a 3-day overnight 5th grade camp. We have a wonderful community partnership with Feldman Chevrolet. We've been really fortunate. They have seemed to adopt our school, and not only have they supported our food pantry that was running full-time throughout the summer and then periodically throughout the school year as well, but they also made sure that all of our students that needed one had a new backpack, and they had school supplies, so they didn't look any different coming in for that first day of school. Any need that we have, Feldman is there to support our families. We support a tremendous amount of families throughout the holidays. At Thanksgiving, we gave full Thanksgiving meals to 25 families. Over Christmas, we adopted 36 families and provided a full Christmas morning for 80 of our students. And we also have a Hound of a Month program. Positive behavior and doing that proactive work is really important to us at Highland, and we honor different character traits every single month. The teachers, the staff, the bus drivers, everyone is involved, and they're looking for students throughout the month who are exhibiting that character trait, and then we celebrate them with a special breakfast at the end of the month, and they get a certificate and their picture hung in the hallway and something on their locker. And we believe that celebrating the positive behavior pays dividends for us. And then something else that we really believe in at Highland is work surrounding restorative practices, and that's what we are going to talk to you about tonight. So we believe that student behavior is communication. And Pam Leo said, either we spend time meeting children's emotional needs by filling their cups with love, or we spend time dealing with behaviors caused from their unmet needs. Either way, we spend the time. So we talk a lot at our school about how do we want to spend our time, and then what impact does meeting our students' social emotional needs first have on academic achievement in our classrooms, and we think it's quite a bit. So for many reasons, I'm incredibly proud of this staff, but one reason is they have embraced a book study, and not every principal or leader everywhere probably has a staff that so willingly does something like this, but our staff was all in. And for me personally, it's been some of the most professionally rewarding learning that we have done together as a team. And we're gonna talk about circles a little later, and when we sit and talk about our book, we sit in a circle too. And it's something that we can practice in our classroom too. But I am just so proud of all of you for embracing this, for digging into the research-based best practices and putting in the hard work to get to the bottom of what our kids need. All right, so a few key points that we are going to talk about today. I already said the first one, behavior is communication, and we think it's really important to get to the root cause. Sometimes when a child is exhibiting a behavior, it's not about that thing that just happened. There was something that happened the night before, the morning before they came to school, and we're seeing it as a behavior, but that's not really the root cause of it. We believe in intentionally teaching through those behaviors as they are happening. One positive shift that we have seen at our school is that our PBIS staff is out at lunch recess. And so instead of all of the recess issues coming in after recess, we have a team of people out there that can teach through the behaviors as they are happening. We know that emotional regulation is tough, even for some adults sometimes. And so we have committed as a school to teach emotional regulation and coping skills to our students, and then to revisit and revisit and revisit again. A key component of restorative practices in our school is working on repairing the harm, what damage was caused, and then as a way to learn and know what you need to through it, and then make positive, sustained change. You repair that harm, you figure out who have you affected by your behavior. Sometimes we know consequences are necessary, but consequences are different than a punishment as well. And if we can, we want to make sure that those consequences are connected to the behavior, because that's where the real learning and that sustained change comes from. At the heart of all of this is empathy. We know we need to teach it. We need to model it. They see it modeled from this staff every single day, and we need to make space for it intentionally throughout our day. Knowing that relationships is at the heart of everything that we do, and we have to get discipline right. In some cases, this can make or break a student's trajectory for their entire life. We believe that discipline means to teach, not to punish. And this quote really centers our work from Lucille Eber. She says, restorative practices in schools are inspired by the philosophies and practices of restorative justice, which puts harm done to relationships and people over and above the need for assigning blame and punishment. And that's the work. So, a foundational goal of this is we want students, when we can, and we know there are exceptions when they can't, but when they can, when we can try a variety of interventions that are lesser first, we want our students to remain in class and to remain in school. Because oftentimes, exclusionary measures that are not necessary, when you go to that harsh of a consequence, or in that case, really a punishment, without trying anything in between, it creates more problems for the student. It creates bigger behaviors when they do return. So we want to look, are there lesser interventions that we can try first? But it's not enough, just this piece of it. For it to really work, we have to implement the proactive piece of this and do things intentionally, and do it to get in front of the behavior, and to teach things in a very positive way. We know that connection and belonging is vital for all of our students and for all of our families. Many of our families, our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, some of them didn't have their own good experiences in school, and we can't help but bring that with us. We can't help but bring that to our parenting, to our own interactions at our child's school and with the staff at our school, because of what you experienced. And so with this, if we can create this environment that is restorative and not just punitive, then we're hoping to have that connection built. And if we have that connection with our parents, then it trickles down into our students. And we know that the child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. So regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstance, we are bringing them in, and we need to find a way to connect with every single student and every single family. And that is what these people do so beautifully all day, every day. And it's hard, but they keep doing it. So with restorative circles, the goal is connection and belonging. It is an opportunity for students to develop empathy for each other, but it needs to be explicitly taught. And there's many ways that restorative circles can show up in our classrooms and all over our schools. Sometimes a restorative circle can be a whole class. Sometimes it's a small group that I would meet with. Sometimes some of our support team would pull a small group. Sometimes a teacher and the people before you often give up their lunch and their planning time and their own time to meet individually with small groups as they need it. But it gives students that safe and supportive place to talk. It is a place where maybe you just have it scheduled and it can be a morning meeting. It's built into your schedule. It's every Monday morning or every Monday afternoon. The students know they're coming together for a circle and they can talk about whatever they need to in a very safe way. It creates a really comfortable environment to teach conflict resolution. And how amazing would it be if our littlest learners start to learn the process of this and learn the language of it, and then every year it can build on itself, and then we have students who can problem solve, and they can do it with each other because they've had a voice and they've been explicitly taught how to do those. Restorative circles are incredibly healing. It involves everyone who needs to be there in a healing process, because oftentimes students, and I think all people in general, aren't necessarily aware of how their choices and their behaviors are affecting others. And it allows them an opportunity to step into someone's shoes, and that empathy is built. So it's really important to change what it feels like for students when they think they're about to be in trouble, because kids know. They know, they get the look on their face. And it's really important that we say to them, let's talk. And we help our students to know that this is a conversation that we're having. This is not a punishment. It's you coming together, trying to get to the root of that problem, asking why, because sometimes that can uncover everything that we need to know. And if we do it in this way, where it's a conversation and not a punishment, this is where the lasting changes are going to happen. How powerful is it to have our students help build the consequences, or help be a part of the conversation? What do I need to do to repair the harm? Who was affected? What do I need to do to make it right? Because usually when we have students involved in that, they come up with something much better than we could have anyways, and it's very powerful. We also are committed as a team to make sure that any consequences that are necessary are connected to the behavior that happened. Does it work in 100% of the situations? Not necessarily. There are outlier situations where something else needs to happen. But where possible, our first question is always, how can we connect it? If kids are throwing food in the lunchroom, they need to help Mr. Rick and Miss Wendy clean up the lunchroom, because we know that will be connected for them more than sitting out and missing a recess. It's harder to clean a lunchroom than to just sit on the bench. And they're not going to want to do that again. And they're understanding how they affected other people by their behavior. And it's a wonderful forum for student problem solving. So the 5 principles that we talk about: relationships, that's at the heart of everything that we do. Respect, valuing the opinion of others. Responsibility, it is adding that piece of accountability for yourself, for your actions, what you owe others because of your choices, but it does it in a very safe, non-shaming way. And that word is really important, because I bet we can all think back to our childhood and our school situations, and at some point we felt shamed for something that we did when we really didn't mean it. Those are the things that we remember. Then also repairing the harm, and then reintegration is an incredibly important piece to make sure that after whatever happened, students are celebrated for repairing that harm. They get that fresh start, and then they are welcomed back into the classroom. They are welcomed back to the school. We talk about making mistakes all the time. So we're teaching students to take direct responsibility for their actions. We dive into that behavior. We seek to understand what else is going on. We work with students to identify who was affected by their choices. We work to repair the harm. We ask things like, who has been affected by what you've done? And what are you going to do to make it right? And then again, that reintegration piece, letting them know we love you. This is a fresh start, even after a suspension, because sometimes a suspension is necessary for things that happen. But we have a return to school meeting in the morning, so we can ground them in these things so they can hear this. We love you. This is a fresh start. What did you learn from this? And what are you going to do to have a great day? And we have seen that have a really positive impact on our students, because when students and families feel shame, they're not going to want to come to school, and they're going to shut down, and they're going to mask things with behaviors. So as we have the punitive versus restorative conversation, we do talk about a language shift. So back when I was in school, and I had some nuns, so maybe it was even a little tougher, they said, what rule was broken? Now we say, who has been hurt or affected? The punitive would be, who is to blame, figuring out who did this. Now we ask, what do they need? Because we know kids are inherently good, so what do they need? Going from how should they be punished to how are they going to make it right? Because that's, again, where the lasting change comes from. So we've had a lot of conversation about throwing out the rules, because I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I heard rule and I kind of felt like it was made to be broken. But we have clear and consistent expectations. And these teachers so beautifully in their classroom create these expectations and how they want to live as a classroom family for the year, and they do that together. They think about what are the attitudes, values, habits they want to exhibit. How do they want to be respectful of their classmates and their school? And they create that with their students, have it hanging in their classroom. And then when kids are veering a little bit from it, you can go back and you can revisit. And they are continually teaching and reteaching, because that's what we have to do to make it stick. At the heart of all of this, again, is relationships. And you are damaging relationships if you are saying unkind things to people, or if you are doing things that damage our school, or we could all come up with a list of that. And I've mentioned explicit teaching. And then one other thing that has been really, really powerful is the consequences are defined. So we talk a lot about, if this happens, then this. And when you can, again, have students involved in that, it's very powerful. And then again, we really focus heavily on that positive behavior and recognizing that. I know when I was teaching 5th grade, I got a lot further by saying, I love the way that so-and-so is sitting right now. They have nothing in their hands. They are looking at me, so I know they are listening. Well, all of a sudden, you see everything getting sit down, and everyone is all of a sudden looking at me. I got a lot further with that than saying, you aren't sitting down, that sort of thing, and this staff does that regularly. Constantly reminding our students, we start every day during our announcements and we say our pause pledge, and we're focusing on what are some of those positive traits instead of saying, don't do this. What are the expectations? What will we see in our halls and our classrooms at Highland Elementary? So every student says, today I will give my personal best, act responsibly, work and play safely, and show respect at all times. I am a Highland Hound. And then when we're not seeing these things, we can go back and have really powerful conversations with students about where they feel that maybe they're not living into that expectation. Our staff is also really great at teaching grit and helping our students see that personal transformation can happen, that we can break some of those generational situations that they might be seeing, and they can change if they want to. We know that a lot of students, they disguise and mask something that they're feeling. It can be perhaps an academic inferiority or something that they're not feeling good about or their self-esteem is low about. So it's easier to have a behavior than to be vulnerable and recognize what's really happening. For the most part, kids really care too, and they want to do well. So what can we do as a team to build their confidence? Promoting an environment of risk-taking, looking at our grading practices and making sure that they are truly showing what students are learning and where they're not there quite yet. And we're very lucky because we naturally, through our district, have a standards-based grading system that allows us to do this. This team has worked really hard to dig into formative assessments and getting those snapshots of learning and getting it in real time, and then planning their groups immediately, even for the same day sometimes, not even to tomorrow. So this team has worked incredibly hard to do this for our students. Our staff models risk-taking all the time. We are making mistakes, and we are talking through it and modeling how you dig through those situations when you do make a mistake. I think, Ms. Schneider, you even referred to yourself as the puzzled penguin yourself to your class the other day. So there are so many wonderful things happening, and I know I keep saying this, but team, thank you for pushing all of us, for each other, for pushing me and our entire team to be better every day. It is truly a privilege to walk beside you every day in this work. And now for the much more exciting part of this presentation, you get to hear from them and hear how it is in action in our school. So those of you that are speaking, come on out.
I'm Ashley Martin. I'm the school social worker of Highland. I'm going to talk about just something that I do on the daily basis. So often after an incident within the classroom, students will come into my office and we'll work through the restorative process. We go through the questions such as what happened, what was your body feeling of that time, who has been affected by what happened, what could have been done differently, or what could you do differently next time, and what do you think that we need to do to make things right. Learning and understanding the impact of their actions, determining how to fix them, and actually following through with this plan leads to positive self-growth. Students often come up with how they plan to repair the harm on their own after we talk through these questions. Students often apologize to their teachers or their classmates after an incident. They're able to talk through their emotions and feelings and how it affected others before they re-enter into the classroom community without feelings of guilt or judgment from their peers. Every student re-enters into the classroom with a clean slate, ready to continue on with their day. If another incident were to happen and they need to leave the classroom again, we start from the beginning and treat every incident as a new situation. Repairing harm in relationships prevents future harm, as well as restoring trust and strengthening the community. It helps the students understand how to make things right, listen to all sides of the story and what happened, and gather an understanding of how their actions affected or hurt others.
As a fourth grade teacher, I'm thrilled to talk about how restorative practices have positively transformed our classroom. Inspired by our book study, we focus on learning from mistakes and guiding students towards resolution. The philosophy has significantly influenced how we approach student leadership with our fourth and fifth grade students. Our student leaders have embraced the principles of empathy, accountability, and collaboration. They have become role models for their peers, demonstrating how to communicate effectively, resolve conflicts peacefully, and foster a sense of community within the classroom. In our most recent fundraiser, student leadership raised over $500 in purchasing new playground equipment, promoting community and empathy. They are now assembling food boxes for students in need for spring break out of our pantry. This initiative showcases their commitment to supporting and uplifting their peers in times of need. I'm incredibly proud of our student leaders and their dedication to creating a positive impact within our school community. Their actions inspire us to approach challenges with empathy, understanding, and a genuine desire to support one another. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sierra Pazinski. I am the EI categorical teacher. So something that was touched on that is really important that we do all day, every day in my classroom is explicitly teach behavior. So when students come in, we expect them to, know what to do and do the right thing. And something that we have to remember is these are little people that probably haven't been taught the same things or the same expectations, or that don't have the same tools in their tool belts that we would think every kid would come to school to have. So something that we do every day is make sure we're explicitly telling them, this is what we're doing, this is how we're gonna do it, and then we're going to have a great day. And reminding them throughout the process, every day, you're doing great. I need this from you. This is what this looks like. Let's do it. So something that Trisha really does for us is give us space, but also give us time to practice that, which has been really exciting. In my classroom, students are a part of creating their daily plan. So we make contracts, and my friends repeat their behaviors every day. Some of them a little more intense than others, but they're a big part of, if I do this, then I do this. So when we're making these contracts, they come up with the consequences. Some of them are a little intense, some of them aren't. But a big part of that is giving ownership and giving them a space and a place to feel safe, to make those mistakes, and then to return to where they need to do. So I really want to thank Trisha for giving us that time, and also for caring and for just really letting us have the kids be a part of it and making them have ownership. Thank you.
So I didn't write anything down. I'll just talk real quick. I've been at Highland for 30 years, and I have seen lots and lots and lots of changes and things happening. Although I have built my classroom on the 3 R's, respect, responsibility, and risk-taking, I have found that through the last couple of years, it just, with COVID and everything, it just hasn't probably been enough. Because I've been noticing, I noticed an upswing in behaviors and things happening, and kids were coming in and they were upset, and lunches, and it's very hard to deregulate that. So I started looking into some of these restorative practices, and I found the restorative circles. So I thought, well, I went to my partner, Jen, and said, you know, I'm doing a lot of research on this. I really want to try it, but it's going to take a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to build, and it's, honestly, the restorative circles are community. And repairing the harm is really a very small part of what we do because we build that community. So I got her on board, and we started with simple, you know, talking to the kids first, and we call it circle time in 5th grade. We have circle time, and the kids had to sign contracts that what's talked about in our circle stays in our circle. And it's not a gossip for the playground. It's not for anybody to talk about. It's a safe space for us to talk. And I figured maybe this would go a little further in trying to restore some of the harm that was happening. So it takes a lot of teaching, a lot of time for, you know, we start with just silly questions just to build the community. And we have a talking piece, and one person talks at a time, and nobody else can say anything. And children can pass. They don't have to speak in the circle if they don't want to, but we take a lot of time to just build the sense of community and the sense of a safety net is what I like to refer to it as. And then once that circle is established, I started to notice that kids were coming to me and asking for the circle and saying, I'm having a problem, can we please have a circle? And if I didn't have it up, you know, on my agenda for that day, sometimes I put it up there, sometimes I don't, I would figure out what I could not do that day because it was important for them to talk. And you have to build that sense of community for them to feel safe, for them to do it. And I started to notice all of a sudden that was starting to happen, that kids were saying, well, you know, I'm really upset that you did this to me. And somebody would say, well, do you know how I felt when this happened? So I started to notice some conversations starting to happen that wouldn't have happened any other way. And then there were times where I could literally just kind of step outside the circle and just kind of watch the circle happen. And the kids would say, even if you're not in the circle, Mrs. Kessler, can we do one? So I just kind of watched what they were doing, and it really started to build a strong sense of coming back together and repairing a lot of that, where I really started to notice these were things that I couldn't have done on my own because it would have been more punitive to them. So is it perfect? No. I mean, we have situations, but we have, you know, sometimes kids come off the playground and it can be a small group of kids, small group of girls, and, you know, in 5th grade, we know drama is happening, and they want to repair some of that harm. And I have kids now coming, they're sad because they're having, you know, a pet pass away or something, and they want, so we let them talk and cry and talk about how they're feeling, and then the kids will go around and give them tips because they've been through it on how to help them, you know. So it really has helped. So that's it.
Hi, my name's Jacqueline. I teach kindergarten, so I also incorporate circle time into my schedule. I do it every Monday, Tuesday, Friday. That's my goals. For me, I kind of took the restorative practice approach as I do for most of the curriculum. I kind of take it down to what they need and what's at their level. So for kindergarten, a restorative circle for us started out at the beginning of the year, same as community building, building relationships, getting to know each other. Our talking piece is a speaking stuffy, so whoever has the speaking stuffy is allowed to speak. If you don't have the speaking stuffy, that's where the expectations kind of come in and the respect comes in. It is all about focusing on who's talking, respecting what they are saying when they're talking, and if we don't have the speaking stuffy, then we're listening with our whole body, not just our eyes, our ears, but also our heart is caring about what the speaker is saying. Our brain is thinking about questions we might have to what they are saying, and just getting them to kind of get used to sitting in the circle and talking to each other. And at the beginning of the year, it started out as, what's your favorite color? What kind of superhero do you want to be when you grow up? And as the week goes on, or as the months have gone on too, it depends on the day also. We talk about, how do you feel when it's rainy? What does that feel like for you? And talking more onto the feelings that they're having and what those feelings look like and what that looks like on our body and how we can kind of identify that and then repair when the time comes, because now we've talked about our emotions and our feelings. So when harm is done to somebody, it's not necessarily for us done in our whole circle, but it's more of that small group circle, and we restore the harm there where it's who was affected, and we call in everybody who was a part of that process or whatever the harm was. So-and-so told on me for this because I broke their Legos, then we're going to talk about it. So it's looking at who it affected, and sometimes if it happens in the middle of the class, it doesn't only affect the person's Lego structure who broke, it doesn't affect the person who broke the Legos, but now it has affected me, and we kind of get them to realize that by asking them, well, who else did you hurt by doing this? Because our learning time has been interrupted, and getting them to also come to that realization through those restorative questions and the harm, or the restorative practices that we do in the classroom. So really in kindergarten, it's kind of more so getting used to being around each other, telling each other how we're feeling, and just taking our turn to speak and listen to whoever is talking.
And I'm Jennifer Elflin. I'm one of the 5th grade teachers, and like Elena said, she's been doing this. She brought me in a couple of years ago, so I'm just going to talk about a couple of wins. We're super excited that the whole staff is on board with this book, because hearing what they do in kindergarten all the way through is going to make it even that much more successful in 5th grade. And our big win story that I said I would share, we have a student in our emotionally impaired categorical program, obviously emotionally impaired, and after learning the circles for a while, that child came in and said, I have a really big problem. These boys aren't playing fair at recess. I need a circle with only the football boys immediately. Like, we're doing it. So we pulled the boys, and the boy, he said, I'm feeling upset because you don't pass me the ball. And the boys explained to him, you're always running with the other team, so we're not going to throw you the ball. And he said, so all I have to do is get open. And they said, yes. And they said, and I'm really proud of you, because last year you would have yelled and screamed at us if we didn't throw the ball. And he was so proud of that he got to have the circle. At the very next recess, they were throwing him the ball. He made a touchdown, highlight of his day. So to hear it's coming all the way up from kindergarten is super exciting for us. That's it.
So thank you again to all of you for being here, for all of you who spoke. And so when we talk about, does investing the time in this social emotional work pay off in the long run? Do we have more time for teaching and learning? Do we have a greater impact on our academics because we're not spending our time
dealing with problems all day. What's your answer to that? Absolutely. So we are so excited. This was just a small snippet of what happens in our school every day, but we are so proud to share it with all of you, and thank you to our team.
Don't go anywhere. Anybody have any comments, questions? Yes, Amy.
This was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. As somebody who, as a parent who, when we would go out, I used to say to my children, be good. They had no idea what be good meant. So I had to define those expectations for them. I didn't learn that until they were a little bit older. The third and fourth one got better. But what you are doing is just incredible to me. I love the idea that you're starting in kindergarten. You're teaching them how to communicate. You're teaching them how to be part of a community that is going to grow with them. And they may not have those same students in their class, but the process to get there is the same when they go to first grade and second grade and third grade. This is tremendous. I love that you have PBIS out at lunchtime. Wow, that's fantastic. I really am just really impressed. In fact, I wrote down hacking school discipline. I think I'm going to read it because this is really tremendous. And I know it's a lot of extra work. I know it is. Anytime you have to stop and make plans and learn yourself and then try to implement that learning, it takes time. It takes effort on your part. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that for the students of Highland Elementary. I know right now they probably will not rise up and say, you guys are the best ever for teaching us this. But when they might, but when they become adults and they realize that they really now have these superpowers of coping, they have these superpowers of communicating, it will make all the difference in the world for them. So thank you very much.
I brought an extra copy in my bag. I'll give it to you before we leave.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Just a couple things from me. I see this every day. I am very proud of the fact that I have 2 grandchildren that attend Highland Elementary. And what you're doing in the classroom, trust me, comes home. And I hear the words, I hear the actions, and I, as a grandparent, appreciate all that you do. A couple of takeaways that I had that I wrote down notes on, and Amy, you did a great job once again. But I love the fact that you talk about not rules, but expectations. That is so important. And at the same time, as you were saying, be good, what does that mean? Well, these expectations are clear and consistent. And wouldn't it be nice throughout life that the expectations were clear and consistent for all of us? But it's so important for our young kiddos. The other focus is on the do's, not the don'ts. We need to get away from don't do this, don't do that, but the opposite. These are the things that we do. And the other piece was the circle time. I know you got it when students request circle time and they can run circle time on their own. You know you got it then. You can just sit back. You facilitated it. You're the leader, but they've taken over and they've assimilated that into their daily lives. And the other thing was, I love the fact, we had a board study session. I guess instead of calling it a board study session, we could have called it circle time, because that's what it was all about. The only thing that we didn't have was that speaking stuffy.
Next time.
Next time, I think.
Yeah, if you need to borrow it, you can borrow it.
We could get one. Maybe I could run over to Highland and pick that up. But I think that would help all of us, especially would help me, I think. So once again, thank you for your time. We appreciate everything you shared. I know you gave us a lot of information, and Dr. Campbell, you'll probably get some calls or comments from the board to inquire a little bit further or have an opportunity to visit your classroom. So thank you again for all your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. At this point in time, we are done with the recognitions and we're done with the school presentations. Next is items from the board president. But before we get into that exciting part, I'm going to do a short recess so that anyone that would like to leave may leave, and I and we will not take any offense. So I'm going to take a short recess.
Not at all.
Thank you again. glad I don't take any, I'm glad we don't take any offense. Take offense for anybody leaving, but our crowd has certainly thinned out, hasn't it? So, with that, a couple things from myself as board president. One item is that this past Monday, last Monday in February, we did have our own circle time. We call it a board study session, and I'm very proud of this school board. We spent a lot of time having conversations about us as a team of 8, how well we're doing, and what the future is in store for not only us as a school board, but as a school district as a whole. And we were very fortunate to have a very good conversation. We covered a number of items during that 3-hour period. The first item, we did our own circle time and circle back because about a year ago, we had a board self-assessment. And we had an opportunity to have a lot of discussion about a year ago about us as a board and what direction we wanted to go. This past board study session, we returned and had another self-assessment to kind of do a check on where we're at. Have we fallen behind? Have we moved forward? Where do we need to improve? And that's hard work, and it takes additional time. And I appreciate the conversation we had. I think we are absolutely, no question in my mind, that we are student-focused. It's important to have these self-assessments because we truly believe as a board that it's a helpful way for us to evaluate our performance and to determine those areas that we might need attention. The benefits of board self-assessment include board accountability, open communication among board members, insight to our decision-making, improvement to our professionalism, clear on understanding what our roles and responsibilities are, identifying our strengths and weaknesses, and effective, productive goal setting. And those are the things that we talked about and spent a great deal of time under the leadership of Scott Worrell from from Michigan Association of School Boards, so we certainly appreciate that. The other area that we spent a great deal of time on is Board of Education Governance and Standards. You'll see that under new business tonight, and I won't go into any detail as it relates to that now, but we'll go into a little bit greater detail when we have an opportunity down the road. The other piece that we spent a significant amount of time, and I appreciate our executive team and the rest of the board taking on this, because what we had was an opportunity to really look at board procedures. We have a lot of procedures that we follow, but it was important for us to take a look at them, have some discussions about them, and then really start defining what those procedures are, not only for us to all agree to it, but at the same time, this is an ever-changing board. We have elections. We have the possibility of having new board members on, and we felt that it was important to really have an opportunity to write down and memorialize our procedures. And this is a work in progress that we're working on, but it follows really the areas of communication, our meetings, our team development, our planning, our policies, and then really some personal board procedures. So we tackled that during that period of time, and then also we had some discussions as it relates to what our goals are. We as a board feel that it's very important for us to establish goals and to articulate what those goals are, because we expect goals to be presented to us from our superintendent, and our superintendent in turn expects goals to be presented and acted upon from his colleagues. So that was another piece of that conversation. At the same time, we also had an opportunity to discuss where we are as a board and where the superintendent is, and we had an opportunity to discuss our superintendent's goals and had a discussion about that. So that was what we did for 3 hours last Monday. In addition to that, we have next Monday and next Tuesday our community forums. This is an opportunity for our community to meet with board members and have discussions one-on-one. As you know, at our board meetings, we have opportunities for comments, but it's not really a time for discussion. This is an opportunity that, quite frankly, is unique in our Huron Valley Schools to have this opportunity for us to go out and meet with our community. It's for 2 nights. We will have members of the board there on both of those nights. It's from 6 to 7:30 next Monday, March 11th. Monday is at Heritage Elementary, and there'll be signs up directing you where to go, or where we'll be. And then on Tuesday, the following day, March 12th, we'll be meeting at Lakewood Elementary. So those are 2 nights that we'll be meeting. It's out on our website, and it's being communicated, so that we'll be there, and we're looking forward to meeting with you. At the same time, as part of our board president's comments, I have received 1 correspondence during the past few weeks, shared not only with myself but with the rest of the board, regarding district policies and practices. So that's items from the board president, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Salah for superintendent's communication.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief. First and foremost, I'm happy to share that Oak Valley Middle School science teacher and department chair Jennifer Day has been awarded Educator of the Year by the Michigan Association of Middle School Educators. Quite an accomplishment, extraordinarily proud of Jennifer. It's pretty exciting when we had a chance to honor Kristen Blanchard this evening for Teacher of the Year, and now here we are again, another Teacher of the Year. I think that just shows the caliber of talent that we have here in the district. So congratulations to Jennifer. Hopefully you see this. Thank you for representing HVS so well. Second, I've spent a lot of time talking about bond information. The only thing I would say as it relates to this topic is there is a plethora of information out there. Not only have we discussed this topic ad nauseum over the last several months, I spent quite a bit of time at the last board meeting touching on this topic, and our website is constantly being updated with valuable information, videos regarding a variety of topics, and just about any possible question you could have is out there. And if you can't find the response to your question, or frankly you don't want to spend the time to look, just email us at communications@hvs.org, and we will respond to you. And that's all I have for the agenda this evening. I am going to invite Mr. Van Gotham to provide a first and second quarter budget amendment updates.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. So on an annual basis, the Board of Education is required to approve an original budget. And then throughout the year, usually several times throughout the year, the board takes action on amending that budget as circumstances and events happen throughout the year from a financial basis. So we're going to briefly run through the first and second quarter budget amendments for the board's consideration under consent agenda this evening. So the board approved original fiscal year 23-24 budget of about $1.8 million in revenues over expenditures, and that called for, again, over $100 million in revenue and just under $100 million in expenditures. And so we've had some things happen between June of 23 and today, and so we're going to present those under our board's consideration this evening. We're going to start with revenue first. The biggest impact to revenue this year is having a better student count than we originally projected. So we improved our budget total by 187 students, which is great. That's about a $1.8 million impact to the budget. The state provides all school districts with an unfunded actuarial accrued liability stabilization payment. And for this year, our amount is over $11 million, which was about a $1.2 million increase to both the revenue and expenditure piece of our books. We were fortunate to have a transportation categorical as well as a declining enrollment categorical. I think it's important to note that our superintendent as well as the Board of Education was pretty instrumental in providing the state government with information that would be beneficial and seeing that some of these categoricals were provided, so we're real appreciative of those efforts. Some local property tax income increase, investment income increase, a slight increase in child care revenue. We did actually book $450 per pupil as our funding from the original budget. It was actually $458, so we have a $60,000 credit on that. And then we also had some special education millage funding. The short term is PA 18, and we received a little over $100,000 for that as well. So we're adding $4.8 million to our general fund amended budget as of December 31st for a new total of $106.5 million. We then want to speak to the expenditure piece of it. And again, when we initially talked with the board, we knew that we had most of our contracts outstanding that had not been settled yet with our staffing groups, and happy to report that between June of 23 and now, we have settled with all those contracts, and we're representing a $5.8 million increase in expenditures. Again, this was a known expenditure increase that the board was very well aware of when they approved the budget in June of 2023. Again, a slight uptick in UAAL rate stabilization. We had some transportation, gasoline cost increase, repairs and maintenance. We saw about a $357,000 increase to the insurance benefits. That's the health insurance offered to all of our staff. $300,000 increase in child care expenditures. M&O saw an uptick of expenditures of about $300,000. Again, just the price of doing business has gone up from year to year, and we're just capturing those costs. Part of the increase in athletics is primarily driven by increased contract costs for coaches. And so as all of our contracts were settled with our staffing throughout the district, it also impacted not only our coaches, but the coaches that we have as independent contractors that come in and work with our student athletes. We had about $157,000 increase in textbook and online resources, a couple $100,000 in technology total cost, part of that being fiber optic wide network. We had about $700,000 between educator grants and at-risk grants that we were able to move out of the general fund and put through grants, for a total expenditure adjustment of $8.4 million, taking our amended general fund expenditure budget to $108.3 million. So as we're looking again at the slide, this is the same as the original slide. We're moving from a $1.8 million revenues over expenditures into a $1.7 million expenditure over revenue budget. Again, mostly the board was very well aware of this happening, and as we've kind of rolled through the year, these are some of the changes as of December 31st. We will look for the board again in June of 2024 to approve the third and fourth quarter budget as other things come up throughout the remainder of the year that will have an impact on our district financially. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Questions? Mr. Van Gothen? Treasurer Grzymkowski, I know that we spent a great deal of time with the finance department going over all of this detail, so.
We did, and as we look at this, we are revenue minus expenditures are about negative $1.7 million, which is approximately 1%. Is that right? 1% of our budget.
Yeah, between 1% and 1.5%.
Yeah, sorry, probably 1.7% of our budget, or close to that, which we were comfortable with that number because it meant that we were able to give increases to our collective bargaining units. And that's really important, that we are being competitive and we are paying our people to do this really important work.
Thank you for your comments. Anything else? Jeffrey, on behalf of the Board of Education, will you please pass on our sincere gratitude and respect for your department and the work that they not only do halfway through this year, but they do throughout the years. So it's very much appreciated and respected. Thank you. Next, are you, Dr. Slad, do you have anything else?
No. I'm all set.
All right, great. All right. Teaching, learning, technology, Ms. Pastana, we have a student here.
We do. We have Rowan here tonight. Rowan is a representative from the IA, and he's going to tell you what's happening there. He's an integral part of our TLT committee and brings news and questions for us.
Yeah, thank you. So I was just going to give some updates relating to some of the extracurricular things that are happening at our school. So if you're familiar with the IB program, there's similarities to the AP curriculum within actual classes, and then also outside of the curriculum you have projects and things that you have to complete to graduate. So one component of that is CAS. CAS stands for creativity, activity, and service. And basically, it's an 18-month-long program where you're trying to make sure you're not just focused on academics, and you're focused on your community outside of that too. And then that kind of culminates in a CAS project, and that's something that you hope to combine these 3 strands into something that hopefully benefits the school or the community. And so some ones that were noteworthy, some students were able to put together new shelves to help one of our teachers, Mr. Bruick. There's a toy drive that we did for a dog shelter, and another drive we did for the women's shelter of Washtenaw County. We also have NHS projects that have been going on. The one I took part in was with the charity Sending Sunshine, and that basically is a charity that tries to combat loneliness amongst the elderly people in Canada. So we took a class period with the whole school, and everyone had the opportunity to write a card kind of just with well wishes and other things like that. And we're currently going through them, and we're going to send them out so that people in assisted living facilities have, you know, a nice moment or two, or a nice card. And then we're also looking at prom. We currently, in the last couple of years, have been using party buses to get to prom. So the night of prom and the night of graduation have the highest rates of drunk driving incidents. So we try to combat that with party buses. We basically make sure everyone has a ride to and from prom, and no one's driving on their own. And that's about all.
Any questions, comments? Thank you very much. Yes, Ms.
I
Dodd.
love your party bus idea. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
As a former Students Against Driving Drunk member when I was in high school, it's nice to hear that you are continuing that work, because we certainly want those to be good memories for folks and not have any tragedy those nights. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. And not only that, but appreciate your work as a member of our teaching learning technology team. Your comments and your opinions are listened to and brought back to the rest of the board. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next, association comments. Mrs. Hollander?
Yeah. Good evening. This is one of my favorite board meetings of the year as we recognize our HVEF grant recipients. As you've heard, we are so fortunate in our district to have an active educational foundation who supports our educators with these grant funds. This funding allows our staff to think out of the box to design unique opportunities for our students. This evening, I want to highlight some of the ways a few of our recipients feel that the grant has benefited both them as an educator and their students. Our grants this year definitely impact our students who receive special education services or who need additional support at school. Paige Riley, Milford School psychologist, she is facilitating a Women's Empower group at Harbor High School. She states that her students were so excited not only to learn that Ms. Riley received the grant, but also that the grant funds made them feel, the students, that they were seen and they were recognized by the community. Trina Buell, special education teacher at Muir, also has really excited parents and students as the grant funds will support their 3-day camping trip. Ms. Buell explains that the grant funds take a significant financial burden off the families, ensuring that all students can participate in camp, which is a great adventure each year for them. At Oak Valley, Roz Adams, speech and language pathologist, will use the funds to develop a treat trunk. How fun is that? Her students are going to be able to build their functional communication skills as they walk around the school offering and delivering snacks to our school staff. Definitely a win-win for all. Also at Oak Valley, Kate Gorney's grant will purchase wiggle seats, foot rollers, kick bands, and fidgets to give her students the ability to increase their focus on academic tasks while engaging their mind and bodies simultaneously. Supporting our special education students continues also at the elementary level, where Nicole Foudy and Michelle Huff, both special education teachers at Spring Mills, also received grants. Both of these grants are giving their students tools and opportunities to increase their confidence mastering new skills. They're excited when their students' eyes light up as they learn something new. A few other grants that I want to highlight tonight have the shared theme of creativity. Lisa Antonio at Apollo Center and her preschool students, they're going to publish a class book on kindness. As these books will go home with their students, it will bridge the importance of reading and social skills, both at home and at school. Stephanie Depp-Barnes, a music teacher at Lakewood, and she's bringing more music into the air. Her students will have the opportunity to expand the note range of their xylophones, and they're going to get to play the glockenspiels. I know, I've never played a glockenspiel. It sounds like fun. White Lake art students will learn all about screen printing. Danielle Vivio and her students will be designing positive messages, which will then be printed on materials to connect and strengthen the White Lake school community. And finally, at Lakeland, our high school students will also get to explore their creative sides in Colleen Durham's history class. Her students will be creating podcasts with new microphones and stands. She states, the students will use them to be creative, educate, and have fun in class. They will also be encouraged to add sensory details to make sure the listeners see the history, along with the sound effects and background music to make the podcasts come alive. As I said at the beginning, our whole community benefits greatly from the HVEF. Our Huron Valley educators are grateful for this ongoing partnership. As one of our grant recipients told me, being able to say yes to the extras is one of the best parts about receiving this grant funding. I have excellent students who truly appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board correspondence. Secretary Pastana.
None tonight.
Treasurer's report.
None
Treasurer-
tonight.
None tonight. Reports from the board committee. First, I'll start off with the executive committee. Exec committee met on March 1st, 2024, at 12:30 at the Huron Valley Administrative Building. The meeting was called to order. Present were myself, Member Pastana, Member Dodd, Dr. Salah, and Heather Cadell. There were no public comments. During the meeting, we met and discussed the meeting that's being held tonight, March 4th. Along with that, our standing topic as it pertains to school safety and security, Dr. Salah discussed reviewing the protocols in place for events that allow the public in during school hours, and we had discussed and identified events that have an impact on student safety by having the public in the building during the school day and the possibility of having private security for support of these events. Dr. Salah will be discussing with Central Office Administrative Team the code at their next meeting and report back. And in fact, he's already reported back as it relates to some of the findings to the rest of the board, so I appreciate that. We also talked regarding the 2024 bond initiative. Dr. Salah gave an update on the ongoing efforts to support the 2024 upcoming bond election. Debriefed as it relates to the board study session that I've already gone over. We also talked about the board procedures and what we've completed to date, and we'll continue to add details. In fact, I believe we have a Zoom meeting scheduled for this Friday from 2 o'clock to 3 to continue that process. We also discussed the governance standard that were discussed thoroughly at the February 26th board study session, and you have that before you tonight that I'll go into a little bit more detail later on during new business. Meeting was adjourned at 2 o'clock. Our next meeting is Tuesday, March 12th at, I believe, 12:30 or 1 o'clock, 12:30, I believe, at the administrative offices. With that, TLT committee.
TLT met on February 26th. The meeting was called to order at 4:35. Present were myself, Mr. Dimick, Ms. Cotter, Mr. Tavernier, Dr. Salah, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Bjorkman, Dr. Nemeth, Ms. Horowitz, Mr. Docker, Mr. Endicott, and two of our students, Rowan and Michael. Rowan from the IA and Michael was from Harbor. There was no public comment. On our regular item, we talked about gifted and talented. Dr. Nemeth provided an update. iReady assessments and teacher feedback have been used as initial screeners. The current focus involves classroom differentiation, which includes small groups, workshop models, curricular extensions, tiered assignments, and WIN, which is what I need time. Moving forward, supplemental supports include Tier 1 Plus and supplemental programming, including visits from Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum. We also, Mrs. Bjorkman gave us an update about continuous improvement, the Michigan Integrated Continuous Improvement. She shared that with Title II grant funds, the district has partnered with Sarah Shriver, an education consultant, to help improve building support for a successful approach to school culture, climate, Tier 1 support, and data points. The improvement teams will be analyzing data at the building level and completing the comprehensive needs assessment. During the 24-25 school year, they will formalize and systematize the process for phases 3 through 5 across the district, hoping to see consistent data. Student leadership. Michael joined us from Harbor for the first time. He's one of 20 students there that make up their leadership team. He shared that they had been working on canned food drives to support community sharing and local animal shelters. They were also successful with a community sharing drive that, as a reward for meeting their goal, they were able to give a teacher a pie in the face. So it was a big thank you to Mr. Clem for being a good sport. Rowan from the IA shared, they talked about their Winter Olympics. He went over most of the things that I have on my thing, looking forward to prom, all of their leadership students doing all their helping with charities and stuff. And then Dr. Slash shared information about communication efforts across Huron Valley for the bond initiative. And that was it. There was no consent agenda. We adjourned at 5:22. Our next meeting is tomorrow, May 5th at 4:30.
Thank you very much. Finance and Operations, Treasurer Grzymkowski.
Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, February 28th at 8:03 at the Administration Building. Present were Mr. Wiseman, Ms. Ryan, myself, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reeby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Timberlake, and Mr. Maxwell from Clark, and Mr. Weinrock from TMP. We did not have any public comment. On our regular agenda, we had two pieces of part of the consent agenda, the first and second quarter amendments. Mr. Van Gotham reported that the general fund second quarter resolution increased the revenue appropriations by $4.9 million and increased increased expenditures and other financial sources appropriations by 8.4 for a net change of 3.5. Administration is asking that the Board of Education approve the attached resolution presented for the general fund budget at this evening's board meeting. State and federal grant budget for 2023-2024 was also reviewed. Huron Valley Schools proposed state and federal grant budget for the fiscal year includes $12 million in revenue and expenditures. Administration is asking that the Board of Education approve this budget as presented in this evening's board meeting. We did not have any unfinished business. We do have two items on the new business agenda for this evening. We have the high school furnishings Bid Pack 9, Phase 2. The committee reviewed the recommendation letter from TMP Architecture dated February 21st of 2024. The allocated bond budget for Bid Pack 9, Phase 1 and 2 furniture work was $1.2 million, and the recommended qualified bid for the balance of Phase 2 is about $650 million, plus a 5% contingency of about $32,000. Did I say $650 million? That is a lot of furniture. That's way too much furniture. Let's do 650,000
That's a lot.
with a contingency of 32,000 for a total phase two price of $678,615.56. There, that's better. The remaining 518,000 of that furniture budget will be allocated for future furniture purchases. Administration will seek approval at the March 18th meeting. This project is funded from the 2023 Capital Projects Fund. In addition, Lakeland High School has some remediation that we need to discuss. The committee reviewed the contract awarded to the Qualified Abatement Services, Inc., in the amount of $57,000, as noted on the Nova Environmental, Inc. attached recommendation letter. This was dated February 26th and has a 12% contingency in the amount of $6,840 for unforeseen items, for the total award amount of $63,840. Administration will seek approval at the March 18th meeting. This project is funded from the 2023 Capital Projects Fund. We did not have any safety and security updates. We did receive an update from Clark Construction on bid pack 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 with respect to timelines and contingencies. And they are working hard. We see the results outside of the building here tonight. They're also working at Lakeland High School. And it's exciting to see all the updates. So thanks, Clark Construction. High school construction update, Mr. Weinrock of TMP walked through the remaining projects to be completed at Lakeland and Milford in the current bond and the potential new bond. The board asked good questions, and there was constructive conversation around some new concepts, and flexibility and parity were frequently used words to describe the upcoming renovations. We also discussed the 2024 bond. The committee held a brief discussion to answer any questions surrounding the upcoming election. A February 22nd, 2024 Citizens for Quality Education meeting was hosted at Baker's, and we did review that. We have no future discussion items. We were adjourned at 10:12 a.m. Our next meeting is March 13th at 8 a.m. at the Administration Building. Hope to see you there.
Great, thank you very much. Communications, marketing, and legislation.
Yes, our last meeting was on February 6th at the Administration Building, called to order at 2:34 p.m. Present were myself, Amy Grisomkowski, Lindsay Cotter, Barb Rothler, Paul Salah, and Kim Willis. There was no public comment. On our regular agenda, first was the 2024 bond. Shared the latest draft of the Next Education Matters newsletter, which is all bond related, and the final draft of the education display boards that we will all see throughout the community at events in and around our schools. Committee gave a few suggestions on the newsletter. Next, we talked about junior kindergarten and kindergarten parent orientation preps. Those are this month, March 14th. So shared the latest changes and preparations they're doing for the junior kindergarten parent orientation. So again, March 14th at all of our elementary buildings. And information is out there right on the front page of our website, hvs.org. Next, we talked about the Senior Appreciation Luncheon, and that's senior citizens, not seniors in high school. Communication shared latest preparations for the senior luncheon, which will be held also on March 14th. So we're celebrating our youngest folks and our older folks in the community on the same day. So far, as of that date, we had 40 RSVPs. Committee asked for one small change to the flyer. Committee also suggests using bond display boards as placemats during the luncheon. Next, we talked about the Oakland County Teacher of the Year. Communication informed the committee that the Teacher of the Year nominations have been sent to Oakland County, and plans are in place for the HVS Teacher of the Year surprises coming soon to a school near you. Next, we talked about Harbor High marketing. So communications is working with Harbor High on a program to highlight current students and alumni, as well as tell the story about why Harbor High School has worked for them, to really help the community understand a little bit more about the great things happening at Harbor High School. Next, we talked about safety and security. The Communication Committee, they let us know that the next safety and security meeting was Tuesday, February 13th. That's already happened. The focus of that meeting was on the bond and the security focus areas, and also plan to discuss security measures throughout the district. Finally, we talked about legislative communication. Committee discussed current legislature and things that are happening in Lansing. And I shared information about my trip to DC at the National School Board Advocacy Institute, which I also shared with the committee at our last meeting. There were no others, and we adjourned at 4:05 p.m. Next meeting will be Tuesday, March 19th at 2:30 p.m. in the Administration Building.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Could you go, what's occurring on March 14th?
All the things. The Senior Appreciation Luncheon and the kindergarten and junior kindergarten orientation.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because last time you did a lot of body language that.
Oh.
Yeah, and you pointed to me when you talked
Oh,
about
the senior luncheon. The senior luncheon. Oh, well, I pointed to Michelle when I talked about.
I know, but I picked up what you.
Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify what was going on that date.
I did it
That it
this-
wasn't the senior graduating class, it was seniors
Yes.
luncheon. All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Sounded like an interesting meeting, as always. Public comments, are there any public comments? Seeing none, we have consent agenda.
I think they've already talked already.
I know. The approval of the minutes, Exhibit A1, A2, which is the first and second quarter amendments that Jeffrey presented, and state and federal grant budget, Exhibit A3. May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda items A1 through A3 as presented.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Member Dodd seconded it. The motion was made by Treasurer Grzymkowski. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have one item under unfinished business. This was presented at the last board meeting. It was the Michigan Association School Board of Directors election. The MASB Board of Directors is comprised of 24 members, including 3 at-large districts, 16 directors elected from 8 regions, 2 elected from each. We are within Region 8, and that is comprised of Macomb ISD, Oakland Schools, and Wayne-Risa. HVS has been asked to select one candidate for a 3-year term on the MASB Board of Directors. We've provided you with the information as it relates to the 3 candidates who are running in our Region 8. I applaud all 3 of those candidates for being out there and running for this office. One was from Wayne Westland, Melanie Hines. Another person was Evelyn Pridemore, who was from Redford Union, and Bridget McQuiston from Lake Orion. We had an opportunity to review these candidates, and we're asking, and the Board of Education has selected Bridget McQuiston from Lake Orion Community Schools, Oakland County, as the candidate that for the 3-year term. This is information that we need to take a vote on, and then it will be submitted by Heather by March 6th, so that our approval is thusly recorded. So with that, I need a motion to approve that selection.
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion made by Secretary Pisani. Do I have a second?
Sure.
And a second by Vice President Dodd. Any questions or any comments? Yes, Laura?
I had an opportunity to attend a candidate forum held by the Oakland County School Board Association. Present were 2 of the 3 candidates. I believe, I believe it was Melanie and Birgit were present, and Evelyn was not present. It was a very interesting conversation. Everyone was given the same questions and the opportunity to answer. Birgit certainly stood out to me as a strong choice. She has been serving for a bit of time and is really in the middle of quite a few projects. and is very much looking forward to continuing those projects, and many of those are items that we are all involved in and seemed very worthy. So I'm very happy to be able to select her as our nomination.
Great, thank you very much. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have a roll call, please?
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. And move forward on the vote. Thank you. All right, under new business, first reading, high school furnishing bid pack 9, Phase 2, Exhibit C. Dr. Salah.
Thank you. I'll ask Mr. Van Gotham to speak to this agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. Again, Ms. Grzymkowski touched on it pretty well from our Finance and Operations Committee meeting, but it's important to note that the high school furniture budget in totality was $3.135 million. We've spent about $2 million of that already, leaving a little over $1.1 million. We're asking for the $678, which will leave us with a little over $400,000 in total furniture to be remained. And so I thought that was important to note for the community that we had a pretty robust high school furniture budget, and we've fortunately been able to spend a lot of that throughout the last several years as we've updated the high school pieces. So wanted to make that comment. Other than that, we're not asking for permission this evening. This is just a first read. I'm happy to take questions from the board tonight and or the next several weeks.
Any questions tonight? Yes, Laura?
So you mentioned that a good, robust amount of money has been spent on furniture. Are there areas that are still untouched as it relates to furniture, or will this make us in a pretty good place?
So for a majority of the classrooms that we've been updating, this will be completing that work. We have talked over the last couple weeks, and as it was mentioned in F&O committee as well as exec committee, we've had a conversation regarding some of our additional spaces at the high schools that still will need dollars for that, and we feel that the dollars that are necessary for those really small portion of untouched areas will be utilizing the $420,000 roughly on that. So feeling pretty good about where we're at from a furniture perspective.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Clarification on that, as we talk about the fact that we're expending money out of the current bond issue that was approved by our voters in 2019 originally, and there's still some money left over as it relates to the remaining funds. There's some significant furnishing that is needed in the future bond issue when approved as it relates to rethinking and reimagining our CTE, our career technical education areas, and our music and our arts areas, along with our renovated areas for STEM. Is that correct?
Yes, so we will not only have the remaining dollars that I'm talking about, that's what I'm really talking about with respect to CTE and some of those arts programs, but then there will also be additional money in this new bond program that will help offset the costs of those, because there will be a lot of dollars invested in furniture with this future bond program as well.
So this is areas that were part of this bond issue, but there's significant areas that have still within our future with approval of the bond issue that not only are we going to be rethinking those and reimagining those areas based on input from our professional staff, but there's furniture that goes along with that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And this is our first reading, so over the next few weeks, between now and our next meeting, please reach out to Dr. Salah or Jeffrey as it relates to this. Next, Exhibit D, which is the Lakeland High School remediation. Dr. Salah?
Thank you. And again, I would ask Mr. Van Gotham to speak to this agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. So we have some existing insulation at Lakeland High School, actually away from the building, underground, if you will, that has some mold that must be abated. So everything is safe at the school and the campus. It's just a matter of taking care of some of this remediation that's done typically when you're doing bond programs and things like that. So we have some areas that have been noted for removal, and so we have Qualified Abatement Services is our qualified bidder at $57,000, as we mentioned, and so this is a first read. We're asking the board to consider this in 2 weeks at the next board meeting, but this is typical for work being done in these bond programs, and and we're happy to bring this for your consideration in 2 weeks.
Anybody have any questions for Jeffrey right now? Yes, Michelle?
And that work will happen when students aren't there? It'll be in the summertime, or when will that happen?
Because it's so far removed from the actual kids, we'll do it most likely when kids are not there, but we could actually do this work while the students are in because it's, again, away from the actual building and where our students are taking, where the learning's taking place.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? Once again, we have a period of time between first reading and second. Next on the agenda is board governance and standards and resolution. I mentioned that earlier in the board president comments. I do want to spend a few moments because I think it's extraordinarily important. And once again, I applaud the board for our discussions as we hold ourselves accountable and create standards that we're all in agreement with. Tonight, under new business, you have the board governance standards and resolution. This is a first reading. Actually, quite frankly, it's the second time through because we had a great discussion as it related to the board standards, but we follow protocols that we have in place so that the public's aware of it. School board members come to their service as as an example of our district because we all care deeply about doing the right things for our children. There is, after all, a correlation between the work of school boards and student achievement. But for the school board's impact on student achievement to be positive, the service must be guided by principles that support excellent outcomes for students and reflective of research-based practices of effective school boards. The Huron Valley School Standards are intended for our use in our school board as a whole and as a practice for our individual school board members. They are developed by us for school board members ourselves to provide a shared framework for effective district governance. We focus on making the governance standards in simple terms so as to be easily understood and promote understanding across the board table and throughout communities. Our board standards, and there's a resolution that is attached, are really focused on a few items. And I'm not going to read the whole resolution, but it really focuses on Board of Education governance standards, which states that the Board of Education, in cooperation with the superintendent and stakeholders, establish and commits to a vision for the school district that emphasizes high expectations for achievement of all students in quality instruction. 2, the Board of Education governs in a manner that is dignified and worthy of public trust. 3, the Board of Education is accountable to the school district community. And 4, the Board of Education holds the school district accountable for creating the outcomes identified in the strategic plan. These are Board of Education governance standards. The other 4 are individual school board member governance standards. 1, the individual school board member is motivated by and focuses on what is in the best interest of all students. 2, the individual school board members believe in the importance of and actively engages in lifelong learning. 3, the individual school board member understands and respects both the authority and responsibilities of the Board of Education. And 4, the individual school board member approaches school governance work with a spirit of inquiry. This is contained within the board resolution that will be presented to the board for adoption at our next board meeting and will be asked to approve and for board members who are in agreement to sign this document, and this document will be prominently displayed at all future board meetings. So, once again, this is new business. We have discussed this at our board study session. It's in front of you. I felt it was important for our public to hear what those standards were that we're establishing, and to move forward with that. So, once again, if there's any questions or comments, please bring them to myself as board president. Any questions right now as it relates to this? Seeing none, we'll go to public comments. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, we're going to adjourn the open meeting to Good and Welfare. We'll go to Good and Welfare now. Yes, Denise.
2 things. I attended the winter dance that Rec and Ed sponsored on February 24th. Kind of being there for Rec and Ed, but also as part of the bond, we had a table set up there. And I just want to remind the public that Rec and Ed has a ton of different programs. This was great. It was like daddy-daughter dance and mother-son dance, and anybody in between that wanted to come, and they were all dressed up, and they were having a great time, and there's lots of fun going on. So I would just encourage everybody to really check out the Rec and Ed program. We are really lucky to have the robust programs that we have in our community, and so just a shout out to Shannon and her small group. And then the only other thing is on Friday, I got to attend the robotics competition. And as a bonus, I got to spend time with Rosie and Joe, too. So we got to watch robotics and talk about security. So
Great, thank you.
I do.
You have something?
Pops.
Yes.
Is going to be, again, this year, March 15th at 7 p.m. and the 16th has 2 shows, one at 1 p.m. and one at 7 p.m. So it's amazing. I went last year, and you should definitely go.
What is Pops?
Yeah, that's probably good. Music program. So the high schoolers have a music program that is out of this world. So I'm looking forward to going again.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Any other good and welfare? Amy?
So, Sports Mom needs to tell you about all the great sports stuff that's happening in Huron Valley. This has been really, like, just an incredible time for our district. The Huron Valley United gymnastics team placed second in regionals. That's incredible. The Lakeland Hockey are in the semifinals for MHSAA. This is huge. Lakeland High School girls were LVC champs in basketball, and Milford High School boys basketball were district champs, and they are back-to-back champions. So congratulations to all of our student athletes. You guys really just make us so stinking proud, so well done.
Anything else?
Oh, sure. Why not? Congratulations to the Milford High School Thespians for their show this weekend of Puffs. It was very fun and funny, and just a nice lighthearted show that I enjoyed, and my Harry Potter fanatic at my house also enjoyed. The Huron Valley Community Theater is having a show with a lot of our 4th and 5th graders throughout the district called Big Bad the Musical at Oak Valley Middle School on the 23rd and 24th of March. So if you don't have anything to do that first weekend of spring break, come check out Big Bad. The wolf may not be as bad as you think she is.
It's a little tease. Any other comments? Anything good from welfare? A couple things. Number one, I want to thank the Board of Education. All of you have attended PTA meetings over the last few weeks. I really appreciate your involvement as it relates to getting the information out regarding the bond issue and the effects that it will have, the positive effects it will have on our students, our student learning, and our teachers. Laura already talked about Puffs. I was very fortunate to attend that, and I'm certainly glad I brought my granddaughters. As a person that doesn't know much about Harry Potter, it was great to have 2 elementary students interpret when I should laugh and when I shouldn't laugh. So it was incredible. But you know what? It's reflecting what everybody had to say. Denise, you talked about robotics and all the people that were there from all over Oakland County, and the positive impression that this community leaves with those people that come and visit us, and how it attracts people into our community absolutely is enormous. Not only do they get a great impression of our schools, but the economic impact that it has on our community, because all those people have to eat. They all have to get gas. They have to do a variety of things, and it really benefits our community when we have activities like that. So it's extraordinary. After Puffs was over, I dropped off my grandchildren, and Milford High School was a beehive of activity that day with robotics and with Puffs. And then I live over by Lakeland, and I drove by Lakeland, and it was 10 o'clock at night. That parking lot was absolutely packed with I think it was a marching band. It was marching band. It was packed at 10 o'clock at night. You couldn't find a parking spot. Once again, here's both of our high schools, totally, this was on a Saturday, totally open, working with the community, bringing people in from all kinds of places, and what kind of positive impact that has on our community to have that happen. So it really made me proud to see all that activity that was going on at our high schools. And that's just our high schools. That's just our high schools. And then, Amy, I'm so happy to hear you talk about, you know, that's the arts. And we're a AAA school district. So we talked about the academics today from Highland. We talk about the arts. We talk about the athletics and how well our students are performing and what great ambassadors they are of our community. It's just makes me proud to be part of Huron Valley Schools. So that's my good welfare.
Tom, one thing.
Yes.
Just so you know, the hot team did get the Excellence Award too, so
Oh.
not so bad, that hot team.
No, and that's our robotics group, our robotics students. So next, after good and welfare is closed session. We only go into closed session for certain items. One of them tonight is closed sessions for negotiations. We will adjourn the open meeting. There will not be any decisions made during closed session. Once closed session is over, and we will only talk about negotiations at that time, we will adjourn that closed session, reopen this meeting, and then close it without any further action. So could I have a roll call to go into closed session?
We need a motion.
Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go
One
into
of these
closed
days, I'm
session.
gonna get that right.
I'll second.
Laura's entertained a motion, and she's got a second, so.
Okay, Ms.
Go ahead.
Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
And Mr.
I
Weissman.
guess I don't have a choice, yes. With that,
Motion passed.
go into closed session.